Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Alina Polyakova, President and CEO of the Center for European Policy Analysis, or CEPA, in Washington, D.C. And I'm so honored to have the Minister of Defense of Romania, Nicolae Ciucă, with us today for a virtual conversation on critical issues facing the Black Sea region, and in particular, the U.S.-Romanian relationship, on the heels of his visit to Washington. Minister Ciucă, thank you so much for joining us. We're delighted to have you. And we're delighted that we've been able to build such a close relationship between CEPA and Romania for many years now. Thank you so much for doing this.
Good morning, and thank you very much as well for your involvement in everything, almost everything which is related on the security issues related to the Black Sea. So I am also particularly delighted to take part today in this conversation hosted by your very prestigious institute.
Absolutely. Mr. Minister, thank you so much for those kind words. As you know, the Black Sea has long been at the core of CEPA's European security work. Our transatlantic defense and security program has been leading what has now become the meeting platform among Black Sea researchers, officials, experts, and practitioners from both sides of the Atlantic to increase political, military, and economic cooperation in the region. And we've also produced now many policy papers and recommendations that I know many in Romania have also looked at closely, and thank you for that, on how to better enhance our defense and deterrence in the region. Our work at CEPA has underscored how the Black Sea region is a critical frontline of security in Europe, as well as a region with enormous amount of potential as a strategic hub for trade, energy, and commercial interests. And in this era of increasing geopolitical competition, the Black Sea has emerged as a key arena of contestation, I think in particular for Russia, which seeks to project dominance in the region at an alarmingly high rate. And it is a time for allies and partners, the United States and NATO, to re-engage and reinvest in Black Sea security, stability, and prosperity. So to that end, Mr. Minister, I understand you had a very productive visit to Washington. During your meeting with Secretary Esper, you signed a new roadmap for defense cooperation that seeks to achieve common strategic goals for the US, Romania, and our broader alliance. Big congratulations to you on that achievement. And so to begin our conversation, perhaps you could start by giving us a brief readout of your visit, share some more details about this important development. And Mr. Minister, thank you again, and over to you for your comments.
My visit to Washington, I will start by expressing my gratitude for the invitation I received from Secretary Esper. We had the opportunity, and I couldn't miss it, to travel to Washington and to have excellent discussions, as I said, with the Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper, and of course with the other officials. At the end, we have signed the roadmap for defense cooperation for the next 10 years. For the present, and I think especially for our future, a common roadmap of cooperation becomes both needed and effective. This is why we together designed a clear set of lines of efforts based on strategic priorities in our bilateral defense cooperation. We are ready to further expand our cooperation by adding more substance in domains such as plans and prepositioning, modernization of our military capabilities, cyber to be underlined, land, air and maritime cooperation as well, and not the least training and exercises. I also mentioned that our countries and nations enjoy an enduring and exceptional strategic partnership. US, it's our strongest ally, and of course Romania, it's one of the most reliable partners United States have in this region. I sent to Secretary Esper the message that we strongly support the persistent and continuing rotational of US forces in our region, and that we also understand that such a commitment requires Romania and other allies and partners to generate the adequate prepositioning capacities. I have also reiterated Romania's contribution to burden sharing. Romania's 2% of GDP for defense budget, it's not a number. It's a statement of a responsible ally. I also underlined that we received the first Patriot system. We are now one of the first ally in the Eastern European flank that are using such a great capability. So we are having a lot of things to discuss. There is also important to mention the importance of contributing to US forces strategic flexibility, offering the example of Romania investing a lot in modernizing the MK. MK, it's a base, military base, very well known, and it's going to play, from our perspective, a very pivotal role in the Black Sea region.
Mr. Minister, you put a lot on the table there. So let me just follow up with a couple of more specific questions. I really appreciated your comment that you just repeated today, that 2% for Romania is not a number. It's part of being a responsible ally. And obviously, as we've had debates on burden sharing across the alliance, I think this is the perspective that all members should have. And I think Romania remains as a trailblazer in that space, and its understanding of how the contribution to our collective defense is really a contribution to the member states' own security and defense. I wanted to pick up on your point about the Patriot systems. Romania is the first country to host these systems in the Black Sea. But could you talk a little bit more about what this capability really gives Romania, especially given Russia's growing air and missile capabilities in the region? Why is this capability so significant to the Black Sea?
That capability is very significant, not only for our country, not only for the region, but also for the whole alliance. Because if we are taking a look from northern part to the southern part, I mean from Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, we can see that Russia have increased all their military presence and capabilities, and we as an alliance and the countries which are on the front line, neighboring the eastern part of the alliance, we are not having enough and modern capabilities to cope with all these military threats and challenges. So when we decided to start acquiring the Patriot system, we were thinking on how we can increase the alliance capacity to defend its airspace, how we can play our complementary role within the alliance in this region.
Thank you for that. As I and many of my colleagues, including General Ben Hodges, have said in multiple occasions, and including in congressional testimony to the House and Senate Armed Services Committee, if we don't act and if we don't lead as an alliance, there is already the risk of a new Iron Curtain being pulled over the Black Sea in terms of Russia's ability to project its military dominance in the region. And it's an arena where the United States must take greater interest. And I think your meeting and the accomplishments you were able to achieve with Secretary of Defense Esper is testament to the reality that there are many in the United States that are taking this very, very seriously, and share your view, your strategic view, that this is not a tactical question for today. This is about investing in our collective security for the next 10, 20, 30 years. To follow up on that, we actually have quite a few Romanians on the CEPA team here. And so I wanted to share a question that my colleague Miruna Sirbu had about Romania's new national defense strategy, which emphasizes a whole of society approach to security. And Miruna was hoping you might be able to tell us a little bit more about how Romania is preparing to deliver on such a complex cross-institutional effort, and how this approach will enable Romania to tackle some of the more specific challenges when it comes to foreign malign influence, obviously from Russia, but also increasingly from China.
Because you mentioned Russia and China, and we are speaking about the Black Sea, we have to keep in mind that the Black Sea, it's the bridge which links Europe and Asia. So it doesn't matter from which point, from which angle we are looking to the Black Sea, we can see both interests of Russia and China as well, not only militarily, but also from the economical, cultural, and the other points of view. So the new strategy for 2020-2024 highlights the principle of extended national security. Alongside armed forces perceived both as national defense and collective defense, it approaches other domains such as external affairs, public order, intelligence, crisis management, energy security, cyber security, critical infrastructure security, education, health, economy, demography, environment in comprehensive manner. All in all, I think it refers to everything which really means continuing to build up and strengthen our national resilience.
You mentioned the importance of U.S. ground force presence in Romania to boost transatlantic security. So the specific question is, what size and what capabilities would you like to see in terms of U.S. ground force presence in Romania?
I don't have the figures, but I would say that if possible, and we don't want to impose any number or any size. What we want to say is that if possible, to have here that presence which may complement and strengthen the Black Sea region in order to not continue to be considered under the soft belly of the alliance in this region, and also to have that presence which may support our armed forces to continue to develop its own capabilities, because as I said, we are having Patriot coming. We never had such a system. We need to be assisted in order to reach the final operational capability. The F-16 also, we have one squadron. We are looking forward to have another one. The special forces, it's a capability that we have committed for developing it at that level of ambition which we can afford. So there are many, many arguments to have US presence as big as possible. But this is in accordance with the US political decision, and I will respect the Pentagon decision as well.
Well, that was a very insightful and diplomatic answer. Thank you for that. And so with that, I'm so grateful for your time, for this insightful conversation. And thank you, Mr. Minister, for your leadership and your country's contribution to our collective security, which Romania is leading in this space. And I think other allied member states should be looking to some of the efforts Romania has been taking on board to ensure a collective defense. I also just want to thank your terrific team at the Ministry of National Defense of Romania and the Romanian Embassy here in Washington for their support in this outstanding conversation. Always enjoy working with everyone at the Ministry and the Embassy here in DC, and look forward to our continuing cooperation. And finally, thank you to our audience for tuning in. We encourage all of you to keep in touch and follow us at CEPA for more exciting work on these issues coming soon. So, Mr. Minister, thank you very much. It was so wonderful to see you again. I hope next time we'll have the opportunity to shake hands and to see each other in person.
If I may, please let me take this opportunity also to thank you again for everything you have done, and for sure you will do in the future. And my special thanks to my special friend Ben Hadjis. I will always recognize how much I learned from him, and how much I value his support since we were in active duty, but also since we both retired and now have the opportunity to serve our countries in the civilian clothes. So thank you very much to you, to your team, to CEPA, and hope seeing you as soon as possible